Yo, what is going on, guys? Tough here, and today I'm bringing you guys a quick video on how to play B site / mid on Mirage. Now, I'm gonna try and keep this brief, so I'm not gonna go into super depth, I guess, about it. But I'm gonna try and show you guys some of the basic things you can do, both with a rifle and an op, and some of the different ways you can take mid control and stay on B and maintain B site if you're playing the CT side on Mirage. So mid is a pretty popular way to take map control as a terrorist because it doesn't make you commit to either one of the bomb sites, similar to how it is in every other map. So obviously the most common place for a terrorist to come from is just right through here. This is the only way that terrorists can get to mid other than underpass, but underpass is sort of a different way to, I'll explain that in a little bit. So just the default thing to do as a terrorist is to come here and to peek with an op, and a lot of terrorists will just pre-fire this anyway because then they know that a lot of oppers will be playing there. So that's not a very good spot to play. So I'm going to show you guys some other ways that you can take mid control, whether it be with an op or an M4 or anything that you have. If you can coordinate with your teammates, one thing that I like to do a lot is sometimes I'll say, alright, what I want you to do is at a certain time or whatever, or if we, as soon as okay, I'll set it up a little more basic than that. I'm not going to go, like I said, into too much depth, so I'll keep it basic for now, actually. So what we'll do is I'll have the opper come and they'll peek mid, and as soon as they see someone, they'll take the shot and they'll fall back. And as soon as they do that, I'll have my teammate who's playing on B come to cat, and what we can do is we can pop flash for each other. I'll just drop one right there, flash out. Our opper tells us where they were playing. We can push up together. So you can push out a connector by throwing a simple pop flash like that, just an underhand throw from back here on the stairs. Usually works pretty well. It'll catch anyone who's peeking up here. The only thing you need to be careful of is someone pushed up right into this corner, playing chair. Your partner on B, playing from cat, he can do the same thing. What he can do is he can either throw a flash off this, and then peek out with that. He can throw a pop flash. I think there's one that you can throw off of this B site thing. Yeah, like that. And that lands further deeper. Like if there was someone peeking there and you wanted to flash for that. You can do a bunch of different stuff with these walls. Be creative, you can do any pop flash really from anywhere. So say you wanted to pop flash a guy from connector to push, you can just throw a flash like that up and over, and then peek with that as your teammate comes out and throws a flash lower. The thing is, his flash won't blind you, which is great, so you guys can each throw your own flashes, and it just increases the chances of someone playing upper mid being blind. One thing you can do from inside sniper's nest is if you have an op, actually, this is a smoke that I like to throw a lot. Like I said, a common spot for mid T's to go is right through here. And so what I like to do is if I'm opping mid for my team, what I'll do is I'll come right here into the corner between this little wooden plank thing and the wall. I'll aim at this brown dot right here. See this little changing color in the wood? I'll go to the very corner of that, throw the smoke. It lands perfectly on the ledge. However, if you come here and crouch, you can see through this perfectly fine, and it works really well because obviously if you're a T, standing back here, it looks as though it's completely sealed off and they cannot see you. So it's a pretty good one-way smoke that you can throw. However, some people do know about this, so it's a pretty commonly pre-fired spot anyway. And if they just decide to pre-fire it, then the smoke isn't really helpful. But I mean, you can still throw that smoke if the T's if you're having trouble taking mid, and the T's are just taking control of it and you're getting picked mid every single time, you can try throwing the one-way smoke, see if it helps. It'll catch them off guard for sure the first time you do it, but after a while they might start to catch on, so you just gotta be careful and be aware that, they could possibly push. Another thing you could do is throw the smoke, have an opper hold this angle, and then have one person push through the smoke and go underpass, because another way that T's can get control of mid is through underpass. A lot of times they'll come here, and they'll either boost into snipers or wrap connector and take control of A, or they'll go up on the cat and go B or whatever they decide to do. One thing you can do is if you're playing in Palace, if you're playing in Sniper's Nest, you can just throw a couple nades down here at the beginning of the round. That'll usually hold off a push, and also if they're trying to stack up, that means they're going to be sending more than one person, so you're going to do a lot of nade damage with that. Another thing you can do is if you have a Molotov, you can just Molotov underpass if you're going to be holding this angle for a long time. So that's one thing you can do. Now let's move over to B. That's sort of all I have for you guys from mid. A lot of it comes with just basic teamwork and communication, knowing when you're going to pop flash for each other, and yeah, just taking control of mid is pretty important, so you might want to work on that with your teammates, or if you have a couple guys that you like to queue with, just go over it with them real quick. Be like, yo, let's practice taking control of mid. Like when I say this or throw this flash, you guys can go here and do this. So that's sort of what I like to do for mid control. Just always be switching up your angles. Also, if you're opping, like I said before, you always want to, like I just said, you always want to switch up your angles, right? So you can come connector, one round, you can peek from right here and hold this angle. Next round, let's say, you come back to snipers, you can hold this angle. And then another neat angle you can hold from B side, actually, is if you come B, and then go on to cat, and then do the same thing from here, pretty much, just hold this angle, wait for them to cross, or get picks on the cross, whatever, you can do that. And then you can easily fall back, and listen to apps if the teammate on site needs help. Also, from right here, this is a great spot, because not only can you pick the cross, but you can hear underpass if they decide to come underpass, and you can easily fall back and help your teammate with apps. If you start hearing a B push or something, you can also come up in here and listen to them in apps for information. So those are a couple ways you can play with the op in mid and B, whatever. One thing, where did my M4 go? I'm trying to find it real quick. There it is. Alright, so B control, let's move into B. One smoke that I like to throw, come into the corner of this, the trash bag, or trash barrel, and the wall. Aim a little bit to the left of this green dot and throw. That'll smoke off most of apps. It'll be almost impossible for them to see through if it lands in the middle, because it bounces off that little plank and covers the entire wall. Now this obviously is pretty good and a deep smoke into apps, so they won't be tempted to push through this because they won't be able to see. If you throw a smoke like in here, that's okay, but keep in mind that it's not as deep and you're giving them more control, because they can push all the way up into here, and you could not know that, and all of a sudden the smoke fades and you're getting pre-fired and they just all come barreling through there. So I like to throw that first smoke because it lands a lot deeper and it gives you extra time to either push into palace or whatever. So I'm going to throw that smoke again one more time for you guys. Again, in the corner between the trash barrel and the wall, a little bit to the left of this black dot, and throw. And it lands deep in palace and smokes that all off. So because it's so deep, it gives you plenty of time to work your way into apps. And one thing that I've always tried and have gotten a couple times actually is if you come right here into the corner of this like little bedside table and the wall, and then aim right here and go into the crack, you can actually spray through this. And as you can see, actually let me get a full mag so I can show you guys what that looks like. If you come right here and spray through this, as you can see, all the bullets are landing right here. Actually, that was a terrible one. I'll show you again. But all the bullets land pretty much right where the terrorist would be running in. So if you suspect that it's a B push, you can just spray through this right here, and all the bullets will land right there on this wall, which is where the terrorist would be pushing. So obviously, anyone trying to get into apps really early in the round would be completely lit up. This is actually like a really thin wall, so it does a significant amount of wall bang damage as well. So yeah, make sure you try that out sometime. Like I said, just come to this corner here, line up anywhere on this wall, really usually about head level, and then go to this crack, and then just spray through like that. So that's another easy way you can take control of apps. Sometimes what I like to do is I'll have one person play from van right here, and then the second guy on B, if you play 2-1-2, will play right here underneath and just be listening for the push apps, or they can take a little bit of a deeper spot right here and be listening, and then they can swing out and help if they push, or they can go mid really quick if anyone needs help in mid. So this right here is a pretty versatile spot to play, as well as this one right here. You're helping out your B guy by listening for the push apps or underpass, because you can hear him underpass as well. And sometimes the sounds can be different to distinguish, but just make sure that you're listening carefully, because if they're pushing underpass and you call out to your teammate that they're pushing apps and you peek out, all of a sudden they're up connector and they're on A and everyone's mad because you made a terrible call. But anyways, this is a pretty advantageous position, because like I said, you can help the guy mid, you can also fall back and help apps, and it plays a really well, plays for a really easy rotator role that you can play. So there's a couple different places you can hold while playing B site. Obviously, as I mentioned, deep in apps is one of them. Right here on barrels, just peeking this works well with as a spot. A lot of people on an eco round or something will have a scout and they'll be jump scouting this. When you play this spot, by the way, a lot of people will just jump for information like this and make sure they don't spot anybody, or as soon as they see someone they'll call it out. make sure that when you're jumping, when you're going to the left this way, that you jump when your crosshair is right about the corner of this wall, so you get all of the information. You can see even back in apps right there. But when you're on the way back, jump when your crosshair is right before this, so that you're getting information about the left side of Palace, or left side of apps right back there, but you're not being exposed to back of apps where someone could be opping and pushed up. So just be careful, because a lot of times if you cross like this, the opper that's back of apps will see you if you're standing back there. But on your way back, make sure you cross and jump a little further in, so that you can only see the guys in the back of apps and that you won't get picked by that opper. So just be careful when you're peeking that, because a lot of times oppers will just sit in the back and pre-fire this angle as they see you jump back across. So that's one spot you can play. Like I said, another one's up in there. Another spot that's pretty common is right here. Now, this is a pretty decent spot. I mean, it does get pre-fired, it does get checked, but it's pretty much good for one kill, right? So if you can just wait for them, hear them push or whatever, and your teammates calling out that they're all in apps, you can either peek early and spray like this and sometimes catch them off guard because they know that they're going to peek this angle, or you can wait for them to push out and try and get 1 or 2 kills as they move onto the site. One thing you can do, however, is you have good timing and you can communicate with your teammates and tell how far up they are into apps. You can just throw this underhand flash like that, push out and spray them all down. This flash lands perfectly in the center. Like, all you have to do is get into the corner here where you'd be playing anyway, right click, underhand toss, aiming at the middle of this beam right here, and you can flash anyone pushing apps and get a really nice spray down. I've seen a couple of really awesome aces. People just stand there, throw the flash, all of a sudden, boom, everyone's blind, they're all pushing, and you're playing well. Another thing you can do from right here is if you're playing this and you want to flash the people in apps, I just throw a pop flash off of this little beam here. That lands pretty close to the middle right there. It's also a pretty nice pop flash because it's going to arc over and pop just under the windowsill so they won't see it coming, right? So you can just throw this a couple different ways, just anywhere off this wall. Really doesn't really matter the height. It's not exact, but any one of them is going to pop right above the windows, or right below the windowsill. Sorry. Another spot you can play in B is if you're getting pre-fired in these spots, because this can be a difficult area. Van and window, like balcony, whatever, is pretty hard to hold because it's going to get pre-naded, get pre-fired a lot. I like playing from right here on bench. You can swing out and get information and fall back, and as they cross, sort of fall back to different angles and eventually go back to market if you needed to. Another decent place you can play is from right here in this corner. A lot of times they'll push out of apps, check bench, but then they'll get on site and they'll start planting. A lot of times you can catch a planter who'll be standing right there, or you can catch multiple people just swinging out here, kind of not really worrying about this angle because they assume that since no one's benched, they've cleared the site. So you can get an easy couple kills right there. And that's another pretty decent spot. You can play right here by this first box and spot for window right here, and then sort of spray them out as they come out, or spray here, fall back, spray some more, re-peek it, you know, like check all these different angles and do that. There used to be this little thing where you could like get up on this box, but I'm not sure exactly how to do it, if it still works anymore. It was just kind of like a little tiny pixel walk that you could just like sort of float up onto the edge. I'm not sure if it still works, but you used to be able to get up on top of this box. I'm just gonna no clip up there for demonstrational purposes, but you used to be able to stand like right here and look at this window, which is a pretty decent spot. If you have an op or an or like a SMG, not an SMG, sorry, a scoped rifle, my bad, there we go. If you have an op or a scoped rifle, this can be a pretty advantageous spot to hold because you'll be able to see them much clearer. But also, I suppose you could get boosted up there with a teammate, but it's kind of difficult, and also that little beam's in the way, so you do a lot of wallbang damage, and shooting through this grate is often pretty difficult. So those are sort of the main spots that you can play on B. I mean, obviously you can play here from market with the op, but this is also a pretty commonly checked angle. I would be super careful playing market, playing cat, and playing van, because those are all the angles that a T is going to be checking as they come out, so they're going to obviously clear van first. They might check bench right here, so be careful of that. And then a lot of times they'll flash here, check our market, and then check cat, and then make sure that no one's playing, you know, on site or still hidden at bench. So those are some of the main places you can play as a CT on B site, guys. I hope you found this helpful, and if you learned any new spots, or if you have some other suggestions for stuff I can do for videos in the future, make sure you drop them in the comments down below. As always, if you enjoyed this video at any time, or like I said, if you found anything from this helpful, make sure you drop a like, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.